One day, I discovered my husband was having an affair. I had been so busy caring for my Troy, who has dementia, and looking after a daughter that I hadn't noticed anything. It turned out my husband had already decided to remarry his mistress and was planning to divorce me. The harsh reality was too much for me to take in.
"You can have the kid and my dad. They are just in the way of my new marriage."
I couldn't believe his words. How did it come to this? I had been diligently caring for his family out of love, and this is what I get in return? Was I just a convenient housekeeper to him? It was just cruel. But at the time, neither my husband nor I could have known the turn our lives would soon take. My name is Shirley, and I'm 35. I am a stay-at-home mom taking care of the household chores at my in-laws. There are 4 people in my family: my husband Keaton, our 4-year-old daughter Gabriella, and my father-in-law Troy. Initially, it was just Keaton and me living in an apartment. I was also working full-time. However, shortly after giving birth, my mother-in-law passed away.
"I'm worried about my dad living alone at the family home."
Respecting his wishes, we decided to move into his parents' house. It's been about 3 years since we moved in, and I've gotten used to the life here. A significant change in the past few months is that I've gone from being a working professional to a full-time homemaker. Even after moving in with Troy, I continued to work at the same company. However, about 3 months ago, while I was cleaning up after dinner, Troy asked me something.
"Shirley, what day is it today?"
Today? It's the 3rd.
Ah, right. It's Thursday, isn't it?
No, today is Friday. Look, it's on the calendar, right there.
Oh, my bad. Lately, I've been losing track of the dates.
At the time, I thought he was just a bit confused, but his behavior began to get worse. He'd ask for meals right after eating and couldn't remember where things were. It was clear it was not normal. I grew concerned and suggested he should visit a doctor, but he gently refused, and I couldn't push it further. I was at a loss about what to do with him, but I couldn't just leave things as they were. So, I decided to talk to Keaton about his father's condition. Since my husband always left for work early and came back late, he didn't know what was happening with his father, who was usually asleep by the time he got home. Normally, I go to bed with our daughter, but that night I fought off sleep and waited for him to come home. Around 1 a.m., I finally heard the front door open.
"Shirley, why are you still up?"
He was surprised to see me in the living room. Seeing his face woke me up completely, and I immediately started the conversation. "I need to talk to you about your dad."
"My dad? What happened?"
"Lately, he's been acting strangely. He's losing track of dates and starts asking about meals right after eating. It's not just forgetfulness, it's serious."
"So he's starting to get senile? Well, he's over 70.
"This isn't a light matter. We really should take him to the hospital." He sighed heavily and said dismissively,
"The hospital? Aren't you overreacting? It's just forgetfulness."
"I'm telling you, it's not just forgetfulness. Something is really wrong."
"Then why don't you take him? I'm too busy."
"I was going to, but he refused, and I thought we should do it together."
"Well, if he doesn't want to go, there's no need to force him. Let's not overdo it."
After saying that, he grabbed a beer from the fridge and started playing with his phone. It was as if my words didn't reach him anymore. "I'm going to bed. Good night." I didn't expect a reply, and there wasn't one. I sighed quietly and left the living room. After that, I kept trying to talk to Troy regularly, but he firmly refused to go to the hospital. He wasn't always confused. There were times when he was completely lucid. One day, he looked at me seriously and spoke.
"Shirley, can I talk to you for a minute?"
"What's up?"
"You've noticed, haven't you, that I've been acting strangely lately?"
"Well, I mean..."
"I realize it too sometimes. I feel bad asking you this, but would you consider quitting your job and staying at home?"
"What?" That question hit me out of the blue and stopped my train of thought. I was stunned by his sudden request. "What do you mean?" While I was still reading, he explained, looking apologetic.
"I'm getting anxious about being alone during the day. I'll take care of the expenses, so could you please?"
"But if we were doing that, we should go to the hospital first."
"Shirley, you've been saying your work environment has changed, making it difficult to work, right? This might be a good time to quit and look for something new, even if it's just for a while."
"Well..."
"Please, I don't know who else to ask."
Seeing him plead so desperately, I was at a loss for words. I couldn't deny that I had been considering leaving my job too. The company's management had changed recently, drastically altering the work environment. It wasn't the positive place it used to be, and many of my close colleagues had already left. I had been thinking about quitting, but with a young daughter, our expenses were only going to increase. I couldn't just stop working. Finding a new job while still employed was challenging. So Troy's offer seemed very appealing. He could handle the finances, and I could take my time finding a new job while keeping an eye on him. As I was still unsure, he continued in a gentle tone.
"If you find a new job, then I'll go to the hospital and even consider moving into a facility."
"A facility?"
"I don't want to be a burden. So, could you watch over me until you find a new job?"
"Troy,
this is my first and last request. Please indulge me."
After discussing it with my husband, I quit my job and decided to take care of my father-in-law until I found another job. The care was mainly supervising his daily life and managing his meals. It wasn't too hard, and he generously gave me a substantial amount each month for living expenses and caregiving. I was grateful to have more time with my daughter and really appreciated his help. 2 months into being a full-time homemaker, I was close to securing a new job. After receiving a job offer following my final interview, I went to talk to Troy. However, he was on the phone with someone. I couldn't hear the conversation, but waited until he was done before entering the room. Troy?"
"Shirley, you heard the phone call?"
"No, I didn't hear it. I was just waiting because you were on the phone."
"Ah, I see. What's up?"
"I wanted to tell you that I found a new job." Hearing this, he immediately brightened up.
"Really? That's great."
He was so happy for me. I just needed to take him to the hospital now. That was my plan for the next day. However, my husband, who usually came home after midnight, returned home around 7 p.m. that day. "You're home early today." He threw his work bag on the floor and bluntly said,
"I'm marrying my girlfriend. We need to get divorced."
"What?" I was speechless from the shock. Keaton, without any remorse, continued,
"Didn't you hear me? I'm marrying her. Our marriage is over. I've got the divorce papers here. Just sign them."
"Wait a minute. What are you talking about? We have a daughter. We can't just get divorced like that."
"I don't care about you or her anymore. You being oblivious let me continue my affair, so thanks for that.
How can you? He had already decided to remarry and divorce me. The reality was too cruel for me to accept. My mind went blank and he coldly said, "You can have the kid and my dad. They're just in the way of my new marriage." I couldn't believe his words. How did it come to this? I had been diligently caring for his family out of love. And this is what I get in return? Was I just a convenient housekeeper to him? It was just too cruel. Glaring at him, I said, "Enough! How can you expect me to accept this?"
It doesn't matter if you accept it or not. This is already decided.
What about our daughter, Gabriella?
I told you I'm leaving her with you, and the old man with dementia too. He's a nuisance.
How can you say that about your father?
You quit your job, not my problem. Now, get out.
At that moment, something inside me snapped. I realized I couldn't continue this relationship. I would take care of Gabriella and my father-in-law myself. Fine, I'll divorce you and leave, but don't ever bother us again. As I said this, he smirked and said,
Of course.
I was so angry that I signed the divorce papers and threw them at him. After cooling off outside for a while, I returned to find him gone and a message on my phone saying he'd stay at his mistress's place until we left. I was at a loss with no place to go. Finding a new home would take time. As I was pondering what to do, Troy approached me. "Troy, I'm sorry. I'm a bit busy right now."
You're worried about the future, right? Don't worry, I've already found a place.
You have? But Troy, why? How did you?
I overheard your conversation. I saw this coming and rented a place early.
What?
Take a look at this.
He handed me an envelope filled with pictures. They were of my husband with another woman. Troy, are these?
Sorry, I haven't been honest with you till now. I had a feeling something was going on, so I had him investigated.
What? According to him, he woke up one night a few months ago and accidentally witnessed my husband on the phone with his mistress. He then asked a friend who worked at a detective agency to investigate my husband's affair. He pretended to have dementia and encouraged me to change my work environment so I would be prepared in case of a divorce. He planned to reveal my husband's affair to me once my life was somewhat stable and had already arranged for an apartment in case something happened. Troy, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done.
Oh, I should be thanking you. My days have been so comfortable because of you.
Oh, Troy.
Anyway, now that it's decided, we should move out as soon as possible. He thinks I'm senile. It's time for some payback.
He whispered his elaborate plan to me, his face breaking into a mischievous smile. 2 weeks later, after we had moved, I informed my ex-husband that. As expected, he called me, yelling before I could even speak.
What the hell is this?
Well, hello to you too.
Answer me. What the hell is going on?
Calm down. What are you talking about?
How? Why did you destroy my family home?
That was the plan Troy had shared with me, to demolish the family home and leave Keaton nowhere to return. I told him the truth in response to his panicked state. Just so you know, it wasn't me who did it, it was your father.
What? Why would he be involved? He's senile.
That was all a lie.
A lie? What do you mean?
Your father knew about your affair and pretended to have dementia to help me.
What? He was pretending? You two set me up?
he continued to yell and blame us over the phone. As I was wondering what to do, my father-in-law took the phone from me and coldly said,
"This is all the result of what you've done. You should know there's no inheritance left for you."
"What? You're kidding, right?"
"I've bought an apartment for Shirley and Gabriella, and the rest will go to my care facility. Not a single cent for you."
"Wait, I told my girlfriend I have a house and your inheritance."
"Well, too bad. Shirley's already hired a lawyer. Be prepared to pay alimony and child support."
"Wait, please. No!" As my ex-husband's cries of despair echoed, Troy ruthlessly hung up the phone and handed it back to me.
"Live freely from now on,"
he said with a kind smile. Later, I demanded alimony through my lawyer from my ex and his mistress. It turned out she was his subordinate at the same company. Both were demoted to different subsidiaries, their salaries significantly reduced. They struggled to pay the monthly alimony and child support, and although they tried to negotiate a reduction, I refused. I intend to make them suffer thoroughly. As for me, I was living happily with my daughter in the apartment my father-in-law bought. It was conveniently located within walking distance from the station, making it easy to commute to my new job. And unbeknownst to me, Troy had already applied for a senior living facility. He had already made friends there and was enjoying his time. My daughter and I visit him several times a month, and seeing him healthy and happy is a great relief. I never forget the gratitude we owe him and plan to live happily with my daughter, cherishing our newfound freedom.